everybody. This is Dear Mama Sal, and we are live on a Friday lunchtime, which means it's time for us to talk about coping with feelings. And today our subject is, of course, April Fool's Day. And I'm hoping that the feeling around April Fool's Day, I don't know about you, but for me, it is always a sort of catch-22. There's part of me that dreads it for something that might come through the mail that I don't know about. And on the other hand, I love it because it's a fun day. Hi there, Jeannie. For those of you who don't know, Jeannie is one of our admins. And just to let you know, Jeannie, that Jody is going to be a little late to the broadcast, so thank you for being here. I appreciate it. But she should be here pretty soon. All right, so Jeannie's updating us with some news. She got her cortisone shot on Tuesday, but it takes about 3 days to kick in. Yes, feeling better today. Rainy, dull day in Maine in the USA. But no snow on the ground. Isn't that wonderful? Well, I want to tell you, as you can probably see, it's a T-shirt day here in southern British Columbia, near Vancouver. I have to say that we've had spring weather, and it's been just so pretty, and I'll talk a bit about that in a moment. Our quotes today are also about April Fool's Day. And so if any of you watching or in the background have any April Fool's stories that we can share, then just let me know so that I can repeat them for you. What was your favorite of all time? And let's see how we do on that. I found this quote and I thought that was so good. Jeannie's asking, did I trim my hair? You look marvelous. Yes, I did. I took about 2 inches off the bottom. And it probably needs a bit more, I think. It might take a little bit more off tonight. But it's amazing what 2 inches does. All right, so here's the first quote of the day. I love it. It says, today is April Fool's Day. Believe nothing, trust no one, just like any other day. I don't know about you guys, but I thought that was so true, right? What if every day we didn't believe a whole lot of what we heard? And it would certainly save a whole lot of stress, wouldn't it? And so I just wanted to, in terms of welcoming everybody, I just want to acknowledge the fact that tomorrow is Laurie's Life Journey's birthday, for those of you who remember Laurie from Laurie's Life Journey. And then on the 3rd, it's Jody's birthday, our admin. She'll be here in a minute. And then on the 12th, for those of you who go way back, it's Boston Paul's birthday. So those are the ones that I know about that are coming up. If you are a regular viewer, and for some reason I don't have you on the birthday list for this coming week, please, or next couple of weeks, please give me an update so that I know. Write to me at DearMamaSal@gmail.com. And I will add it to our database. Remember to follow us on Facebook and Twitter, because if I need to cancel a broadcast or do something out of the norm, then that's where I would post it. So if you want to keep up to date, do that. And also just be aware that I am just a human being with opinions. As somebody once said, a big mouth and opinions. A magical combination as far as I'm concerned. So I'm hoping that you all had a good week and that your feelings were pretty much under control. And if not, let me know. And I will, talk to whatever it is. If any of you got anything you'd particularly like to talk about, as I said, please let me know so that I can leave time for it, or basically talk about whatever your issue might be if you'd like me to. All right, so I found some really fun April Fool's Day pranks that were played around the world. Back in 1996, for those of you who are living in the States, I don't know if you know this, but Taco Bell, the fast food chain, Taco Bell said that it had decided to buy the US Liberty Bell, which it claimed it was going to rename it the Taco Bell. And they were moving it from Philadelphia across to California. But here's the interesting, I don't know about you, but I think it's quite funny. But the interesting thing was sales of Taco Bell on that day, uh, over a 24-hour period, went up $1 million. Can you believe that? So are April Fool's hoaxes worth it? Absolutely. There is a Welsh proverb that says, if every fool wore a crown, we would all be kings or queens. Um, and so, yeah, have you ever done anything foolish? I do it all the time. You know, it was so funny because my brother, as some of you know, I've got a brother coming to visit soon. And he just wrote to me with yet another change of dates, yet another change of the time he was going to be here. And all I did was, as I got it yesterday, and I realized that when I opened it up late at night, that it was already April Fool's Day where he was. I just wrote back and said, oh, very funny. April Fool's Day, right? Because I wanted him to know that, you know, it's like, how many times are you going to change this schedule? And I don't know about you guys, but it's like, does he not realize that him changing the schedule all the time means that appointments I have need to be moved or, you know, canceled and then rebooked? And oh, never mind. Apparently, it doesn't matter to him. How about this one? It says, if you have anything important to tell me tomorrow, because today I won't believe anything. Actually, I don't know about you, but April Fool's Day, I always understood stops at lunchtime. So anything you hear from me today is going to be, to the best of my ability, the truth. And I say to the best of my ability because, let's be honest, you know, some of these quotes may not be totally true. I don't know, but we'll find out. In 1980, it seems a long way away. Well, it is, isn't it? Anyway, 1980, the BBC announced, I'm sorry, but I love this, that the BBC announced that London's iconic Big Ben, that they were going to do a facelift to it and take off the analog clock and put in a digital one to keep up with the times. Now you know the Brits, right? And you know how steep they are in their traditions. And Big Ben is like, you know, Buckingham Palace. You don't mess with Big Ben. You know, it's like part of our heritage. You know, it's a bit like the Liberty Bell. Don't mess with the Liberty Bell. But, you know, for the Brits, Big Ben is like everything from Guy Fawkes onwards. You know, it's just amazing. So you can imagine the idea of them, you know, stopping that clock and putting up a digital one instead to keep up with the times. I don't know about you, but I really enjoyed that. Do any of you have any stories to tell? If you're watching in the background, for example, you might have a story that you heard about that you thought was funny. And if you did, share it with us. Okay, so let me see what else I can find here. It was actually great fun just looking some of these up. Yeah, in 2008, one of our local airlines called WestJet said that it had upgraded all its cabin, you know, the storage lockers up above. And they said, if anybody wanted to rent one out during the flight, you know, like you could sleep in them almost, you know, just to, you know, let them know. Well, they were inundated with phone calls. So again, you know, these pranks work. Ah, interesting. Jeannie's saying, I like things in a, you know, a certain order. How many of you are like that? A little bit OCD about everything goes in its place and there's a place for everything, right? And she's saying that her husband, York, every April Fool's Day, my husband would open all the kitchen drawers and cupboards and leave them open, I would suggest, right? Did he move things around as well, just for the fun of it? just to watch you go insane. Yeah, I want to tell you, for those people who are OCD, somebody moving things around is absolutely uh, traumatic. I can remember, for example, that I uh, did something for Yvonne once. Well, she was my tenant for 20 years, and I did a special treat for her once, and I made her a bookcase to match another one that she had, and I engraved the same pattern on it, and I did all sorts of things. But it was just one of those things where I took a photograph of the bookcase before, or the things that were on the old sort of rickety bookcase. I took a picture of it so I knew what was on there and which shelf it belonged on and everything. And I put it back so carefully and tried to match it identically with with the picture I had. And when she saw it, she yelped with glee. I have to say that she did enjoy it, but then started to move things like a quarter of an inch to the side or whatever. And I went, no, I didn't measure it. I'm sorry. But it's just like, yeah. All right. So Janie's saying no, he didn't move things around in the cupboards. He wanted to live, I guess. But seeing all the cupboard doors open, yeah, I think that would shock me as well, Jeannie. And I'm not, I don't think I'm that OCD. Mind you, I am about those three things, aren't I? Those tea towels, because it drives me insane if I go to do a broadcast and the tea towels, are not there, or they're in the wrong position or whatever. And I see, you can see they're not quite straight, but at least they're uniformly not quite straight. Can you see that? They sort of just bend down slightly. So would that drive me? And I'm certain if I woke up and saw all my cupboards opened, yeah, I think I would have a bit of a fit. It was really funny yesterday, for example. I decided that I still had the lockbox for my house when all the contractors were coming in. It was still at my place, and I thought, I really need to get that open, get the spare key out, and then send it on its way. Well, I tried to open that thing. Did I feel foolish, seeing as we're talking about feelings? Did I feel foolish? Very. And, it had been there for so long, I think it had rusted a bit and all sorts of things. And so I then went to go and get I have a chopstick in my garden that's very useful for planting seedlings. So I got the chopstick and I was just, trying to get the numbers in exactly the right order. I could not open it for the life of me. Anyway, it ended up that they decided to send somebody because they needed somebody to collect the lockbox itself. So that was fun. And he arrived, and I went with him to show him where the lockbox was. And he then, put in the same number, and it didn't open for him either. Whew. It wasn't that I was being stupid, but what he did is he played around with it for a while and then really, yanked on the lockbox and it opened up. Phew, that was good. And guess what? No key inside. Hi there, Jody. Welcome back. You've missed a couple of fun April Fool's Day jokes from around the world. So you understand, it was just like, part of me felt so foolish because I couldn't open it. And then I felt so relieved when I saw that he couldn't do it either. Do any of you relate to that? But the funny part about it was when he went to go, I noticed he had the chopstick still in his hand. And I said, Josh, sorry, not Josh, his name is, probably Josh as well. I said, were you planning to take my chopstick with you? And he said, oh, I thought it was rubbish. I said, no, it's one of my prized planting tools. So give it back. Which he did. So think about it in terms of, I don't know about you, but once you get past noon on April Fool's Day, it's like, okay, that should be it. But then I'm always a bit wary because, I've got friends with weird sense of humor. What about you guys? From all the April Fool's Day pranks that you've heard about, which one was your favorite? I like this one. And this one came from the BBC, the British Broadcasting Association. And in 1957, Richard Dimbleby was their main anchor. Everything that came out of his mouth was gospel, and he was, very serious, not known for having a sense of humor or anything, very serious. And he did a whole segment, if you can believe this, on the little Swiss town, Swiss, not Italian, little Swiss town that harvest, it was time for their annual spaghetti harvest. And they even had a news clip of women up supposedly cutting strands of spaghetti off the trees. And this whole thing went on very, very seriously. And here are the women, cutting off the spaghetti that's now ready for harvesting. And then he was explaining how they cook it. And then then they all sat down for a real homemade spaghetti meal. Now, I don't know. How did he do it with a straight face is my question. I can imagine doing it, but would I be able to keep a straight face? What about you guys? It's just like the annual spaghetti harvest in Switzerland. I mean, that was the dead giveaway to start with, all right? That this wasn't in Italy, this was in Switzerland. So I just, I don't know about you. I just looked at it. I just went. So how about this one? We are fools regardless of whether we dance or not. So we might as well dance. Yeah, Jody's saying, not in a million years could I have kept a straight face. Now, I think I could have probably done it, but I couldn't have done it. I could do it with a straight face, I think. But could I have done it and not burst out with laughter at the end of it? All right. Who was it? There was one very famous one where they actually said the aliens had landed. Can any of you remember? That was back in the 40s, I think, when they did that, 40s or 50s, where one very well-known broadcaster, that it was somebody like a Walter Cronkite or something, again, or David Dimbleby, one of those type of people did, I think it was Walter Cronkite. Maybe, anyway, but what he did was he said that there'd been an alien invasion. And, that if you had a bomb shelter, it would be a really good idea to get to it. And, he did the whole thing, again, totally straight face. But it caused absolute panic. Jody, if you're not already doing it, could you just check who it was that did the April Fool's Day prank about an alien invasion? I think it was in England, so it probably was, Dimbleby and the boys. It was just like, really. I don't know about you, but I think the newspapers and the broadcast stations must have such fun putting these things together. And, to me, it's just like, oh, gosh. I look at it and go, life is full of laughter if we want there to be. All right, so Jeannie's adding here, one of the best jokes I ever played on my husband was when we were visiting Prince Edward Island, where my sister-in-law lived. I told him we were passing a famous bra factory. Yeah, and he went, really? I can imagine. Yeah, of course he believed you. I know the best one I did. I think it's the best one that I did. I had gone on a promotional tour with a lot of my clients about a week before April Fool's Day. And, we took them all in, an Air Force bomber, a bomber plane, the B-2, right? And literally, it had no carpeting on the floor or anything. It was Orson Welles that did that one. You're quite right. Yeah, terrifying millions of listeners. Does it give you the year by any chance? You're quite right. It was Orson Welles. That's right. Of course, that's why everybody believed it. Very famous actor. All right. Anyway, so we hired this bomber to take all my clients down to a luxury resort for a weekend. But as we put them all into the plane and we took off, it was in 1938. I thought it was the 40s, but it's 30s. Okay, so Orson Welles did it. Thank you so much, Jody. You're a star. Anyway, so here we were. I got all the clients on board, and once we were, the seatbelt sign came off. Well, we didn't have one. They just announced that we could loosen the seatbelts now. We cracked open bottles of champagne and we just ran down the aisles with the bottles upside down. It was sort of like catch it if you can as we come past, which was really funny. But the funniest thing was that while we were there, a very good client of mine accidentally, and it was accidentally, we were out at a dinner one night of that weekend, big formal dinner that we had. And I've got to get a fork to show you. All right, if you can imagine, this was his plate and this was the fork. It was a spoon, now that I think about it. Okay, imagine it's a spoon. But anyway, we had soup, and we were having the soup course, and he had a soup spoon like this, and then he accidentally hit it up there, and this flipped up and completely covered the beautiful sequin top of one of my clients. Ruining it. And she wasn't known for having a sense of humor. And so what I did was, because April Fool's Day was a couple of days later, I phoned him up on April Fool's Day and pretended to be that woman. And I reamed him out for his drunkenness and his lack of social manners and his table manners and you name it. I just, I totally changed my voice and did this number on him. And bless his heart, he took it all in, hook, line, and sinker. And he said, I am so sorry. What can I do to appease you? And she said, well, I tried taking it. I took it to the dry cleaners. And he said, oh, well, just send me the bill. I'll gladly pay for it. And then I pretended to be this other woman. And I said, no, you don't understand. They couldn't. They couldn't get the stains out. The top is ruined. And then he obviously said, well, I'm totally to blame. So let me know the cost. And then I have said to him, well, if you'd care to meet me for lunch today at, 11:30, I think or 11:45. I don't know. It was just before April Fool's Day finished. Maybe we can, just call it quits. You can buy me lunch at this fancy restaurant. So he said that would be my pleasure. And of course, when he pitched up for lunch, I was there. And I just said, happy April Fool's Day. Yeah, let me buy you lunch. Now, that was putting down a marker. And I dreaded every April Fool's Day that followed it because I knew I can't remember what he did. I can't remember what he did in return, but I can remember what my staff did one day on April Fool's Day. I was so busy, I clean forgot it was April Fool's Day, and I'm sitting in my office, and my top right-hand person walked in and said, Sal, I don't know how to tell you this, But I think if I just say it like it is, that would be better, right? And I said, "Yeah, well, sure, yeah. What's up? I'm leaving." Now my heart sank, and I'm certain my eyes and my whole body language reflected that. And I said, "I am so sorry. I'm so sorry to hear that. Genuinely so sorry to hear that. But being who I am, I said, I really hope that wherever you're going, that they appreciate you as much as I appreciated you." And he said, actually, yes, they are going to appreciate me just as much. And then he told me he was going to my chief competition, and I went, oh, that's unusual, but okay, if that's what you choose to do, so be it, and I wish you all the best in the world. And so he left, and I grabbed another sip of my coffee. And guess what? My number 3 person came in, because he was my number 2. He came in and said, Sal, I don't know how to. Anyway, over the course of an hour, 5 of my top people resigned. But I literally was, the English expression is gobsmacked, It was just like, really? And by the time it got down to number 6 walked in, and I can't remember. It was a guy. I remember it was a guy. And number 6 came in and started to resign, and then burst out laughing and said, I can't do this to you. The look on your face, Sal, is so priceless. I cannot do this to you. And I said, what? And he said, well, I was going to resign like the others. And I said, yeah, I gather. He said, but we just want to tell you it's April Fool's Day. Gotcha. And I said, all I need to know was who came up with this idea. That's all I need to know. And then I worked it out. Probably the person who came first, right? Because he was my top person, and I was pretty sure he came up with it. So I just smiled at everybody and said, very good, very good. You got me, hook, line, and sinker. But now walk in fear, people. Walk in fear, because revenge is sweet. Anyway, I'll tell you about my retaliation later. Oh yeah, Jody, really, walk in fear, the big time. Will Rogers said that everything is funny as long as it's happening to somebody else. How many of you agree with it? Remember at the top of the broadcast, I said, April Fool's Day for me has some level of fear to it, as well as some level of humor. All right. And that's why I had such fun when my brother told me he had changed the schedule yet again. My reply was, okay, I got it. It's April Fool's Day over there, because they're 8 hours ahead. And he said, no, it's true. And I said, no, I liked it better when it was April Fool's. So I look at it and go, we are so fortunate, don't you think, to have a sense of humor. But I agree that it's much funnier when you hear about it happening to somebody else than when it happens to you. And so I look at it and go, wow, this is just, I'm glad it's past midday. But, I found that some people just don't understand that it's meant to stop at midday. All right, so I do warn you all to stay calm, and stay calm all day, regardless of what comes down. And if anything really weird happens, go, I'll check on it again tomorrow. Right? In other words, if you hear you're being evicted or, whatever, go, okay, it's April Fool's Day, so I'll double check on that tomorrow, not today. Today, I'm not going to believe anything. I think that this must have been fun to watch. This happened back in 1961, I believe. And it was the Rose Bowl game. in the state, and in Pasadena, right? And there was a game between the Washington Huskies and the Minnesota Golden Gophers. And what they did is that they went to the cheerleading team, as you know, somebody incognito went to the cheerleading team and handed them a stack of big cards, and they said at halftime, you know, when you do your cheer, at the end of the routine, pick up the cards, and they were all numbered so that the cheerleaders could take them in order, pick up the cards and put them up, you know. So it sounded like it was an organizational thing, you know, that they'd asked them to do. And so sure enough, it got to halftime. It came to halftime, and, you know, they were all doing their thing. And then the Washington cheerleaders did their routine that was part of the halftime show. And at the end of it, they all leaned over, picked up the cards and held them up like this. Well, it didn't spell Huskies. It spelled Caltech, who wasn't even playing. I don't know about you, but, you know, there was uproar. I loved it. It was just like, can you imagine the Caltech alumni all around the world, you know, going, yeah, go Caltech. You know, I've seen so many of these things. It's wonderful. It says there's an Irish proverb that says, don't give cherries to pigs or advice to fools. How many of you are going, trying to give advice to somebody who doesn't get it is just a waste of energy? All right, so Janie's asking me, we talked last week about the Oscars. What was my opinion of the Will Smith's slap of Chris Rock? All right, let me tell you both sides, if I may, Jeannie. You asked me a straight question, and I'll give you my honest answer. I caught the Oscars after that had happened. I didn't know that had happened. And I did see Will Smith go up and take his Oscar. And I found that very moving, quite honestly. And I was talking about it. Only later did I find out what had happened prior to that. I've had a few days to think about it, and I tried to see both sides. Number one, yes, I agree with you. I think Chris Rock handled it brilliantly. He did not retaliate. He took it like a man, and then the show must go on, all right? And he knew there were millions of people watching him. So the thing that amazed me was he didn't even, normally if somebody slaps you, automatically your hand goes up to the place where you were slapped. I found it strange that didn't happen, quite honestly. But I would have said that was a natural reaction, that you would hold the place where you'd just been hit. And I don't know if anybody else noticed that. He didn't do that. He just went down with the shot, so to speak. I also tried to see it from Will Smith's point of view. He knew in that moment, once he'd done it, that he probably would get thrown out of the academy. He knew that. But, you know, it was too late. And I think, you know, every week we talk about emotional intelligence and how to keep control of your emotions. And I think in that moment, I don't know what had happened to him earlier in the day or what else had happened in his life. I have a feeling it was one straw too many for Will Smith to take that day. You know, it was one hit too many, and it was about his wife. And he is very protective of his family, as we know. And so can I understand that he got up to defend his wife? There's part of me goes, well, that was, you know, like, is it honorable? No, violence is never honorable. So do I think that he deserves to be punished? Absolutely. I believe they even asked him to leave the room. And he refused. Now, I can see both sides of that as well. What about you? So to my mind, though, was Will Smith in the wrong? Yes. But I believe in a court of law, there were mitigating circumstances. All right. And, even though the police went to Chris Rock and said, hey, if you want to lay charges, we will arrest him right now. I thought the noble thing that Chris Rock did was to say no to that. That over and above his elegance in taking the hit and carrying on with his job, I thought his real shining moment was that he didn't press charges and let it be. And so from that point, I also had to ask Jeannie, and I ask all of my viewers this: have you ever been emotionally triggered to an event of any sort, that you later were horrified at your ability to have your anger overtake your logic? I have had it happen. So it's very difficult for me to judge, Jeannie. All right. I can see how it happened very clearly because it happened to me one day where um, literally my emotion was so triggered that I lashed out. And so who am I to judge? All right. JD's saying many say that Chris didn't know about Jada's condition, right? The hair loss condition. And so that is very possible. Right. Jody's saying, I've been so angry that I lost control of my words. Oh, that's why I won't argue with people anymore when I'm triggered. I will say to them, hey, I'll come back to you and have a discussion about this, but I need to settle down before I do it. And because I don't want to say something I'm going to regret for the rest of my life. And, do you think Will Smith is going to regret that? No, I don't think he will, quite honestly. All right. And if the Academy throws him out, does he care? No, I don't think so. And does his wife know that he would risk everything for her? Yes. So, how many of you would like a husband who would do that? Or a wife who would do that? May I ask you that? So, there are two sides of this, right? So, Jeannie, what do you think? I think the Academy should bar him. I don't know whether they should bar him indefinitely, but probably for 5 years. Because that was a total breach of protocol. It was live. It was, there was so many different aspects to it, but it was violence. And the Academy needs a zero policy on violence. So there's no doubt in my mind they need to punish him, and they need to punish him hard. If they fine him $1 million, will he care? I don't think so. You see, you can't undo a wicked act, right? You can't undo it. That's why I always say to you, before you get into a fight, back away and think about it, because you will never be able to undo what you say or do. What do you guys think? And while you're typing, I want to tell you what I consider to be a truly amazing April Fool's Day joke. There were 25 journalists who got together, and they got together under the control, if you like, of a journalist out of Newsday called Mike McGrady. And Mike McGrady thought that these erotic novels that were being published were, something that was just pathetic. Right? So what he did is he asked his 25 buddies in the business, each of them from different well-known newspapers, to write one smutty chapter for this book. And then what they did um, was McGrady put all those chapters together in some sort of order and produced a book of smutty stories written, total rubbish, written by all these top journalists. And the funniest thing, um, was that it became an overnight bestseller sort of thing. All right. You can probably imagine once it came out what they had done. And not only that, but the following year, McGrady wrote a book about how he did the con. And that also sold out within days. So I think that is, what it is. Yeah, Jeannie's saying about the Will Smith thing that he deserves to be punished. Yeah, he needs to be punished. He knows that. He knew that when he did his thank you speech, when he begged for when he apologized to the Academy. And so from that perspective, that's a no-brainer. They have to punish him, and they have to punish him hard, if you know what I mean. They have to give him a really serious punishment because the message is to everybody else. Yeah, Jeannie's saying the movie Coda won, but it won't be remembered. What will be remembered was Will Smith's hit on Chris Rock. But does that take away from Coda winning the Best Picture? No, not at all. And they will always be able to link it. We won the Oscar in that year that Will Smith did his number. That it'll always be linked. And I think that's the important thing. Stephen King says, we fool ourselves so much we could do it for a living. How many of you play April Fool's Day jokes on yourself every day without even realizing it? Ah, interesting. There we go. Interesting. Kimmy thinks they both should be punished. They both crossed the line. The question is, though, Kimmy, did Chris Rock know of Jada's hair loss problem? That there was a reason why her head was shaven? And if he did, then it was sick. I don't think he can be punished for telling a joke. There are plenty of really cruel jokes that get said on the Oscars. Yeah, Jeannie's saying Chris is a comedian and his jokes were not that bad, right? Chris Rock always is very close to the politically correct line and normally spends most of his time over the top of it. So, I agree. But I also want to talk to a point that Jeannie made as well about the effect it had on other presenters, all right? And it wasn't just other presenters, it was also some people in the audience, right? How many of you saw that some of them were genuinely shocked and in trauma? And so we know from our discussions week after week after week that sort of trauma, affects your whole body. And so I think it will be very difficult for people to let that go. And it will be very difficult for Will Smith to navigate that. Yes, Kimmy's saying that Chris Rock crossed the line when he made fun of her. So let me ask you, Kimmy, because it's an important fact here. Are you saying that comedians should never make fun of anybody? Or are you saying it was cruel that he made fun of her when she had to shave her head because of the condition? Yes, Jeannie is reminding us that Wanda Sykes said she was physically ill. Yeah. So, here's the thing, Kimmy. If you tell comedians that they cannot tell jokes about somebody else in case they offend them, then, comedians would go out of business, is my view. When you think about it, all right? Because half the time, comedians get their laughs out of making fun of other people. Think about it. We wouldn't have Saturday Night Live. We wouldn't have any of those satires where they make fun of people. And I have to ask you, is that what you need? So Jeannie saying that Wanda Sykes said she was one of the hosts and was not apologized to. Um, I, yeah, I quite honestly think his apology. I don't know if any of you read the apology, but I was reading somewhere that they reckoned it was a masterclass in how to do a public apology. Right? Yes, good point, Jody. What about all those celebrity roasts that we used to have, where the whole evening was spent dissing the person they were roasting? Or what about the presidential dinner at the White House that they have for all the journalists, where all the comedians get up and make fun of the president? Yes, Kimmy's saying I would want him making fun of me because I'm overweight or blonde, or wouldn't. You wouldn't. Okay, but the thing is, he's a comedian. That's what they do. Jeannie's saying Joan Rivers was very funny, but she was pretty raw at times. Yes, so I'm going, where do you draw the line? And I like to believe that Chris Rock genuinely didn't know. I have to say, I want to believe that. I don't know it to be true. All right? And until I hear that or see it, I'm going to presume the best and presume that he didn't know. But the other thing is, how many of you agree that Jada without hair looks stunningly beautiful? There was part of me that goes, I should look so beautiful without hair. I thought she looked stunning. All right, so that book I was telling you about, the one that all those 25 journalists wrote, it rose to number 4 on the New York's best-selling list. Can you believe that? They made it all up and did it in a heartbeat, and it was called Stranger Than Naked. And then I don't know about you, but it was just like they did it for a laugh, and it became a bestseller. And then they did the follow-up book that also was a bestseller. So you look at it and go, sometimes pranks turn out to be really quite profitable. How many of you? All right. So Kimmy's saying that making fun of her being blonde and overweight would be over the top, in bad taste. All right. So let me tell you something. At my 40th birthday party, I used to be a sort of ash blonde color. That was the color of my hair in my day. And at my 40th birthday party, a comic stood up. I had a lot of well-known people at my 40th birthday party, as it so happened. And one of them was a professional comic. And he stood up. And one of the lines that he said was that, how beautiful I was, or whatever it was that he said. And then he followed it up and said, I cannot understand why somebody with such beautiful hair bothers to color the roots a different color. And I want to tell you, I did not find that amusing on my 40th birthday. So yes, but was it funny for everybody else? Absolutely. And by the way, did I laugh? Of course I did. But did it hurt? Yeah. Making fun of anybody hurts, doesn't it? How many of you know that even April Fool's Day jokes go wrong all over the place? All right. So what we think is funny doesn't mean that the other person thinks it is. And that's what we have to remember. So I look at it and go, be careful. And how many of you hear people say things like, oh, I'm sorry, I was just being funny? When you call somebody, I have a thing where somebody hurts me, either intentionally or not. I don't care whether it's intentional or not. And it hurts me. I say the word ouch. And they go, what? And I say, ouch, that hurt. I know you were trying, I'm pretty sure you were trying to be funny, but I just want to let you know that hurt. Okay. All right. Kimmy's saying, I actually talked to a YouTuber that did a talk to that made fun of blondes, and her hair was dyed blonde. She actually stopped doing it. She understands why now. Yes, but do we do the same thing every political season? Do we do the same thing? How many of you believe that political satire should stop as well? We shouldn't make fun of a president, or we shouldn't make fun of somebody who's running for president, or whatever. And imagine how many comics illustrators would be out of a job. All right. So you look at it and go, we have to, it's like free speech. How many of you believe in free speech until it says something that you don't agree with? So be balanced if you can, people. See both sides of the story. I personally don't want to do away with comics. All right. And Jeannie is adding the fact that Demi Moore made an amazingly gorgeous GI in GI Jane. All right, when they cut her hair, she still looks stunning. Stunning people will look stunning regardless what you do with them. That's the peculiar thing. And so, be aware of this. That wait a minute, Kimmy. Kimmy, and I want to just make sure we all discuss this. I understand your point. Kimmy's saying yes. If it crosses the line and hurts people, it needs to stop. Who decides whether it crosses the line? Does the person telling the joke or the person receiving it? You see, how often have you said something and accidentally hurt somebody because you didn't know that was a sore point with them? All right? So you accidentally triggered them. We've all done it, Kimmy. But I'm famous for, or I was in my day, for one-liners, especially with hecklers in the audience or something. I'm a natural-born comic in that way. But did I have times where probably my one-line retort to somebody was across the line? Probably. But whatever they said to me probably crossed the line, and it was a spontaneous reaction. Yeah, and Kimmy's saying she doesn't believe in violence. I think he should be punished for the violence, not for the reaction, but for the violence, and for the language, knowing it was live television. All right, so there's a double whammy coming to him. But again, it was an interesting bit of humanity, in my view. And as somebody who watched the Oscars from after that point, it was really amazing to me when I heard that there'd been problem. And I had to really, sort of reshape my mind about the Oscars because I didn't realize it had happened. All right. So Jeannie is saying that Will's father said, that's the way we roll. A bad example. Well, I would say that defending each other as a family is what he was saying, that we defend each other. I don't think that he was saying that violence is the way we roll. But I could be wrong. That wasn't my intent. All right. I think Will's son was probably saying that we as a family take the protection of each other very seriously. And I think that's wonderful that they do that. I always remember something that the Obamas said. all right, about their time in the White House and all the horrible things that were said about them. And their motto in their family was, you go low, we go higher. All right. And I always try to remember that. Somebody gives me a low blow, I try to remember go higher. In other words, give them the benefit of the doubt, pretend that they didn't mean to hurt you. Sometimes I will ask people that directly, by the way. I will say, that what you just said, did you mean to hurt me or was it accidental? Right? When my brother changed all the dates of his visit again, and by the way, brought it up by 2 weeks. So, not asking, I hope you don't have to cancel anything or anything like that. When he did that, I literally just wrote back and said, I got it. It's April Fool's Day, right? And he had to say, no, this is serious. And I went, oh, okay. So I think we all agree that zero tolerance on violence for any of us. But have any of you ever been violent? Before you judge, have any of you ever been violent? And if so, what triggered it? I've done it. I hit somebody. Twice in my life, I have hit somebody. I'm not proud of it, but I have done it. I'm actually shocked that I did it both times. One was my mother, who was absolutely freaking out of control, and she just would not get a grip at all. And I swatted her one like you would, it was just like, and she looked at me and like she couldn't believe what happened. And I said, you taught me that one. You taught me when I was out of control, I would get a beating. I just gave you a smack. Because in our days, we were beaten for anything we did wrong, right? And so she looked at me in horror. I said, and now you know what that feels like. However, you are back in reality now. You stop freaking out, which is not good for you. And I know you will probably hate me for a long, long time. But remember, I'm still your daughter and I love you. It was just like, what do I do? So was I proud of that? No, because that was never the answer, but nothing worked. And I'm pretty certain you talk to any parent, right? They've had a moment. Kimmy's saying, you should stand up for your family, but in a different way. I think we all agree on that. I think Will Smith agrees on that too. Right. Kimmy's saying, I had one time in high school to defend myself in high school from a bully, or would have got beaten again. Yes, so you see, you did it out of self-defense. But did that make it right? No. I think Will Smith did it out of family protection. Did that make it right? No. Violence is never the answer. I have to live the rest of my life regretting what I did, that I swatted my mother. How many of you can not imagine that, right? But that's how bad the situation got. I was just like, for goodness sake, wake up. So it's different if you're defending yourself. Will Smith thought he was defending his wife. So where's the difference, Jeannie? That was what he said, right? He did it in defense of the attack on his wife. So I don't see the difference there, Jeannie, so help me. And he did it to shut him up. So I find that interesting, that it's okay for you to defend yourself with violence when you're at school, but it wasn't okay for him to do it on national television. You see, I think think about it, at some level, there was a lot of honesty about Will Smith. He shattered his image in that moment. We all know that. Jeannie says, if you're going to be harmed, protect yourself. All right. And Kimmy's saying, I could have been beaten to death if I hadn't protected myself. Yeah, I understand that. I totally get it. And that's why in law, we have that section which is called a mitigating circumstance. All right. How many abused wives in a moment of absolute emotional overload killed their husbands? And, judges for the longest time didn't understand that that is possible to have that emotional overload trigger you over the line. And I would just say to all of us, the more emotionally intelligent we get, the better. But here is the thing. Will Smith had been perfectly socially acceptable in everything he did professionally. We never knew what happened behind closed doors, but he kept control. And was he insulted? Was he attacked time and time again? But he never lost his cool. They attacked his wife when she was ill. It took him over the line. And I think in a court of law, that would be the mitigating circumstance, but I could be wrong. Good for you. Jeannie's saying an upset woman once punched me by breaking my glasses because of a man. I did not retaliate. Yes, it's interesting, isn't it? I can remember one story about my sister. And my sister was holding a cocktail party in her house one time, and a very jealous wife uh, saw my sister talking to her husband. And she literally took hold of her blouse and ripped it off her body. That's how angry she was. Just literally ripped the blouse off her body. And, the interesting thing was my sister just carried on talking, dressed in her bra. She just carried on the conversation. And, I when I discussed it with her one time, I said, what on earth made you do that? She said, I was not going to give her the pleasure of watching me be embarrassed to be standing around in my bra. Yeah. So there we go. All right. Richard Branson. How many of you know who Richard Branson is? I think most people, Sir Richard Branson. Let me do it correctly. All right. So here was the thing. Apparently, he loves April Fool's Day. Absolutely loves it. And in 1989, residents in London started making telephone calls to the police and everybody else saying, there is a flying saucer over London right now. And there was, right? And so, police were sent out to go and investigate it. And eventually it landed in the county of Surrey in England. And not in London itself, but just next door into Surrey. And it landed in a field. And the cops were sent out to go and investigate. And you can imagine, these cops, and we need you to go and investigate a possible UFO that's landed in a field in Surrey. And so the cops ran out to go and investigate. And sure enough, what they found was a flying saucer, which probably shook the heck out of them. And as they came close to it, the door opened. And a figure dressed in silver came out towards them, just walking out towards them like that. Apparently the cops just ran away. The guy in the silver suit wasn't Richard Branson. He was inside, but it was in fact a guy called Don Cameron. And what they had done is they made a hot air balloon that looked like a flying saucer, and they had planned to land it in Hyde Park, but the wind took them off course, but it still had the same effect. Everybody was convinced there had been flying saucers going around. I just thought it was wonderful. So when you look at it, How many of you have been hurt by a April Fool's joke, right? And so this is what I'm saying. Sometimes we don't know what will hurt somebody. True? Sometimes we don't know what will hurt somebody. So how do we know which ones do and which ones don't? Right? I want to tell you, there have been times on DearMamaSal where I've been hurt very sorely. I don't mind telling you that. And I find when I call people out on things and say to them, did you mean to, I just want to check, you know, what you just said really hurt me, but I just want to check, was it intentional or did you think you were being funny? And it's amazing to me how many times people said to me, oh, I was just being funny. I don't think I've ever heard anybody, except one person, say to me, I want you to take this seriously. Right? Because when you call somebody out on it, they will 9 times out of 10 or 99.9% of the time tell you that they didn't mean to hurt you. But I'd like to say, so often they did. So often they did. So look at it and think twice before you hurt somebody, I guess is what I'm trying to say here. Because we forget how easy it is. Yeah, Kimmy's saying, think about what you're going to say really hard before you say it. But again, what I'm saying here is that be aware that a comic is a comic because they are able to just, boom, react immediately to something. And, if you want to stop comics being funny, it's bad. It must be so difficult now, being politically correct, being uh, socially correct all the time. It's impossible for a comic, or very difficult. All right. And I have to say that I find that most comedy routines that are filled with 4-letter words, I don't find particularly funny, but some people do. So, but that's evolved, right? We used to have it where you could never say anything rude on television. Now you can say things all the time. Life changes and it's difficult. How do you decide? You could make a joke about Zelensky, President Zelensky at the moment, and you can say, well, that could hurt him. Well, hello, he's in the public eye now. He's up for grabs for comics, right? Saturday Night Live, right? That's what I'm saying. All these programs would cease to exist if we didn't make fun of political figures or anybody that's in the news. That's what they do. That's what satire is. So, I don't want to see that go, quite honestly. But bottom line, I'm pretty sure that Will Smith will end his career. Or what he will do will be behind the scenes, all right? He will walk away quite willingly, I'm sure. Sorry for the pun, willingly. I believe he will walk away. And not the way he would have wanted to end his career, but it is the way he will now put his energy. Yeah. I agree with you, Jeannie. Jeannie's saying, but comedy is still a medium we need. Yes, you bet. And will comedy always cross the line sometimes? Yes, of course it will. That's what comedy is. Think about, you know, if you think about, there isn't a public figure that has not been the brunt of a comedian's joke. All right? So it goes with the territory. And I think we need to remember that. There isn't a politician who hasn't been the brunt of a cartoonist or, or a politically uh, motivated attack. It goes with the territory. So I look at it and go, but is there a lesson there for all of us on April Fool's Day? You bet it is. Forgiveness. Watch my body language. What if we could practice forgiveness? How many of you can see it from Will's side and go, it wasn't right, but I understand what he did? Right? And so I think that's what all I'm asking you is be aware that we get emotionally triggered. And it may not be right what we do, but it is a fact. It happens. So Patrick Moore, I don't know if any of you know that name, but he is a very, very well-known astrologer. And back in 1976, I think it was 1976. Let me see whether I've got this right. Hang on a second. All right. In 1976, he actually on air said that at 9:47 a.m. on April Fool's Day, that Pluto would pass behind Jupiter, all right, reducing the gravity on Earth. And therefore, and he started this conversation a bit before 9:47, but he said at 9:47 exactly, all right, if everybody jumped, they would be weightless for that moment. And the time clicked on, and sure enough, it got to 9:47, and you have no idea how many thousands of people and tens of thousands of people jumped at 9:47. And then some even phoned in and said that they had experienced levitation, weightlessness in that moment. For somebody, with a reputation like that, I'm thinking about David Dimbleby, and I'm thinking about, Moore was such an important figure in our lives in those days. And it's just like the fact that he did it just blew me away. And can you imagine all these people jumping up in the air thinking, okay, fine, we're going to help the earth a bit here. And somebody said, don't be worried about being fooled today. It's not April Fool's Day. It's just March 32. So I think that humor quite often depends on what side of the fence you sit. I have heard people tell jokes that they thought were hysterical and I thought were cruel. And I'm pretty certain you have as well. So, we need to be aware. Now, The Guardian. Jody's saying, I just Googled David Dimbleby. Yes, such a distinguished looking gentleman, which is why everybody believed the fools that joke. The Guardian newspaper, right? Very serious newspaper. It decided it decided on April Fool's Day to write this whole article about a country near the Seychelles. Now, the Seychelles are in the Indian Ocean, and I've had the pleasure of visiting those islands, and they are idyllic. You know, those white beaches you dream of and the turquoise seas. That's the Seychelles. Anyway, but they said this country was close to the Seychelles. They called it Serif, and the whole thing was the whole article was puns, you know, jokes on punctuation. And for example, you know, they said that one of the islands was shaped like a semicolon, or two of them. You know, it's like, and and they were called uppercase and lowercase, CAISSE, not CASE. All right. You know, the whole article was written tongue in cheek about punctuation because it was being written by The Guardian. It would have made a wonderful SNL skit. The interesting thing was how many people tried to book a vacation to this island of Serif. You know, all the travel agents got inundated with people calling up and going, I want to go to Serif. They're going, where? You know, it's near the Seychelles. Never heard of it. You know, and so if it's done right by the right people, I think is what we're learning here. But if you are the brunt of an April Fool's joke, it maybe isn't so funny. All right. And that's what we're talking about. So be aware, humor is in the eyes of the receiver. That's the whole thing, all right? That what you think is funny, somebody else might not think is funny at all. Sorry, I've just lost my place here. Now, I can't remember who did this next one, but let me see if I can find out. Hold on a second. This happened in 1994. Associated Press, all right, again, AP, very well-known news organization, disseminates news information around the world, right? They did a fake Associated Press article, and it was spread by a prankster in emails, all right, announcing that Microsoft had just bought the Roman Catholic Church, Vatican City, and everything in it. And that Bill Gates was quoted saying that the faithful could now get communion and reduce their time in purgatory, all on the web. It was one of the first successful online practical jokes. Now, for those people who are Roman Catholic, would that offend them? Sure. But for the rest of the world, was it one heck of a April Fool's Day joke? You see, it depends which side of the coin you're coming from. And I don't know about you, but I wonder how many people actually thought it had happened. So here we go. Would you want to get rid of April Fool's Day because it hurts people? Based on, you know, some of the feedback that I've been getting from you guys, should we stop April Fool's Day because it can hurt people? Should we stop driving cars because people can die? You know, it's like everything in moderation. And if we can see that that is what life is about, that would be really important. I know that some of you sitting on the East Coast still have snow in the air, and that's fine. But I want to tell you, we got spring, early spring suddenly hit where I live. People have been out in their gardens doing all sorts of things because the weather has been just wonderful. I know that I am pleased to announce that I am now officially over my flu, as far as I know. I've still got the allergies, but I am over the flu. How do I know? I managed one day this week that I got 8,000 steps in. Now, you know, I had 2 weeks where getting to 2,000 was a struggle. So, what do I know? I've got more energy than I used to have. But I did something quite interesting, I thought, this week. Do any of you know what your ideal weight would be? Now, the reason I say that is I was so excited this week because I found that I have dropped over 10 pounds this year alone, and we're just starting April. I have already dropped 10 pounds. And the whole of last year, I dropped 7. So since the height of my weight, I don't know about the rest of you, I hit my all-time high weight during the pandemic stroke fire. For those of you who don't know, my house caught fire and I was displaced for 6 months. So, all the excuses in the world, but the truth was I put the wrong things in my mouth. And so the interesting thing to me was when I hit that weight, and I thought it was horrific, I said, I've got to stop what I'm doing. If I keep doing what I'm doing, I'm going to keep packing on the weight. So therefore, I need to do something different. And I had been trying very hard with all sorts of things, but I hadn't been doing it the right way. And so what I decided to do was have a look at what weight I should be. Okay. And I was horrified. I'm 5'7", as far as I know. And I say that because I'm older now. I'm probably shrinking a bit. But my ideal weight would be somewhere between 120 and 150 pounds. Now, I haven't seen that since I was at school. And at school, I was heavy. I'm heavy, what they call heavy boned. I've got very big hands, very big wrists, all those sort of things, right? So my frame is heavy. So let's say, and that's why I've always said, what would it be overweight, right? And so overweight, I would be in the category of 160 to 180 pounds. And I'm going in my dreams, right? Because if you think about it, I've lost 17 and a half pounds in the last couple of years, which is a lot. And I'm very, very proud of myself for doing that. But you understand my goal. Some of you have been watching my journey, and my goal is to get to overweight, not obese. All right, that's my goal, to be overweight. I'm so excited about it. But if I look at it, it's still 36 pounds away. How many of you can understand that is not funny? To think all that I've done, and I've lost, 17 and a half pounds, and I've still got 36 to go to get to where I want to go. So what I want to say is, if that is so overwhelming to me, which it is, I'm not going to do it. All right. So I don't concentrate on that. What I concentrate on is what is the next BMI goal. Now, do you all know what BMI is? Anybody not know? You're not stupid if you don't know. It's your body mass index. And they're saying for your height, your age, this is what what roughly you should be. And I started off where my BMI was 36. That is very high. All right. It's in the sort of medium obese range. It's about halfway through obese before you get into severely obese. I was never severely obese. I just was obese. Bad enough. And I can pride myself in the fact that they say people who are overweight, actually handle sickness better, ill health better than people who are not. So, there are lots of things you can say to yourself, but the truth is, if I want to lose that weight, I've got to watch what's going in my mouth. I found out it wasn't exercise. I need to stop control what's going inside my mouth. And so I wanted to let you know I have now gone from a BMI of 36.5 down to 33.5. Right? So that's what I work on, right? Get the BMI down. And the next one, I am very close to being at the next number. And so that's all I work on. And once I hit the next number and can hit it consistently, I will then start concentrating on coming down one more BMI rating. Does that make sense to everybody? And how I do that is totally up to me. I look at it and go, I feel overjoyed at what I've done. I don't mind telling you. And I'm very happy because I know I am on the right path. And I know that slowly, I didn't do it overnight. I didn't go on a fad diet, didn't do any of those things. I said, I want to change my lifestyle so that it creates a more healthy body. And I believe that I'm getting there. Why? Because now the weight is really beginning to drop. It gives me great feelings of joy. I feel a little bit more in control. Does that mean I don't eat bad for me foods? No, as you know. I eat whatever I want to eat. And by the way, if any of you want to know what your ideal weight is and you happen to be on the feed at the moment, I will not announce what your weight and age is. But if you'd like to know, just give me your weight in pounds / your age, and I'll tell you what your ideal weight should be. All right. And it's good to know. I am feeling great feelings of joy this week because a friend of mine that I haven't seen for an awful long time is coming to visit me. It's a friend who abused me one time too many, about 10 years ago now, 10 years ago, somewhere in there. And what I did was, because she abused my friendship one time too many, I actually put down a boundary and said, that's it, we're not friends anymore. And because I just couldn't control the fact that I wanted to protect her and be there for her. But then I realized I expected her to be nice to me in return, and she wasn't. And I don't mind telling you that was conditional, but it was like, no, I've done what I can for you twice in your life. In fact, 3 times in your life, you've been literally down and out, and 3 times I've pulled you out of the gutter and done what I can to put you back together and get you working again and get you safe and making good choices and things. And then each time, I end up getting punished for it. So I said, no, I'm not doing it anymore. And the best way I could do it and protect myself was to put down the boundary. I'm pretty certain maybe I'm not the only one that's had to do that with a friend. So I look at it and go, that was a very difficult decision to make, but I made it and I held to it. But this weekend she's coming to visit. And I decided enough's enough. She makes me laugh, and I'm certain she still makes me laugh. And so I invited her to come over for the afternoon on Saturday, tomorrow. So I'm really looking forward to that. And I know that we'll have a lot of catching up to do, and hopefully we will start putting that bridge back together again. And it's going to be difficult. How many of you think I need to apologize for what I did? And maybe some of you can see it was survival for me. It was the only way I could survive what I thought was hurtful behavior. So, it doesn't really matter, does it? The thing is, that was past and now it's present. The question is, have we grown so far apart that we can't be friends anymore? I would like to hope not. Right? And it was just like, okay, let's see how far we've come. Let's see what she's learned, and I'll tell her what I've learned. And, we can get a hug from each other and be happy, hopefully. Yeah, Jody's saying, I hope you have a wonderful day reconnecting. Yeah. I know that I'm pretty sure that we will. It'll just be the afternoon. I'm pretty sure that we will because I don't feel any stress around it. I don't feel I've got to impress her in any way or do anything other than be who I am. And we will get a lot of joy. By the way, this little girl thing that you see me do every now and then, it comes from her. She always used to get so excited about things, right? And I noticed that I caught onto that when over all the years that I knew her. It was so cute. And she's also the one, by the way, who taught me I'd like you to take this personally. We'd be having lunch with a whole group of people, and somebody'd say something, and she'd look them straight in the eye and go, I'm about to say something. And they go, oh, yeah? And I'd like you to take it personally. Well, you want to see people's reaction to that? She's got a very weird sense of humor, and that's why we got on very well. Anybody have any feeling of accomplishment this week? Because we love to talk about these. Feelings of joy. Did anything happen to you that made you feel joy? Or did you choose to feel joy, rather? Because feelings are a choice, aren't they? I definitely had a lot of joy this week, but I also had accomplishment. One of the things I said to this friend that's coming is, hey, can I borrow 1 hour of that time that you're coming over to do a couple of things? Because I want to reorganize my deck. And I'd love 1 hour of your time. The reason I did that is because I knew I needed to reorganize my deck and get it clean after the winter. It was a nightmare. But what really happened was by asking for that help, I was getting it ingrained in my head that it needed to be done in a hurry. Now, you probably all know that because I asked for that, I've spent time every day this week tidying up that deck. And it does look so much better. I still have some bits for us to do together, and that's fine. But the majority of what I wanted to do is already done, and it really looks so much better. I felt such a feeling of accomplishment. It's not perfect. By the way, an awful lot of stuff just went into black bags. I didn't even bother to sort it. It was just like, it needs sorting, just put it into a black bag. And I've got black bags, hidden away in a place. And what I'm going to do is every garbage day in the summer, where it's easy to sort outside, I will be looking at these things and going, what goes into the garbage? Or every day before the garbage day, what goes into the garbage? And what do I want to keep? And if I want to keep it, where am I going to put it? So how many of you can see that just throwing everything that I didn't know where to put it just into a black garbage bag? And then got that stored. I did have one bag just of plastic, so that I've already sorted. So I've got literally about half of a contractor bag full of plastic already that came off my deck, from plant pots and all sorts of things. It's just amazing, quite honestly, how much there is. Now, the other thing I had great achievement and joy from was that my neighbor, if you remember, sometime in the fall said to me, would you like my roses? And I said, what? And she had these magnificent roses, all right, at the side of her house. And I said, I love roses. Yes, but they didn't come in the winter. I thought I was going to get them in the winter, but I got them this week, 5 of them. And so I am so excited because I've decided to put them in that little space of land that I've got between my deck and my neighbor, the other neighbor, not this one, that one. And I'm going to put just a row of roses down there, which I think will just help me understand. And, then I don't know if any of you can relate to this. When I talked to my sister about the fact I'd scored these 5 roses, she wrote back immediately because she has a rose garden and knows all the stuff. And she said, which ones? What are they called? And I said, I think the creeping one is called red. And I think one of them is a yellow. And she wrote back and said, no, that's not what I meant. I said, I know it's not what you meant. I do know that one of them is a peace rose. I do know that. But other than that, No idea. And what I will do is this summer, as they bloom, if they do bloom, I will take pictures and find out, and then I will make a little catalog of them and let you know what I've got. How many of you are going? That's half the fun, not knowing what you've got. And then, or I will invite, I've got a botanist type person who lives in the community here. She works at a nursery, and I'll just go, okay, tell me what I've got, please. But here's the good news. My neighbor's husband came with a dolly to bring, one by one, to bring these roses and the pots. Even I got the pots as well, over to my place. And I caught him with the dolly, starting with the first one. I said, let me do that. And he said, no, it's okay. I said, no, I need the exercise. Let me do that. So I literally took the time and the resistance training and all the rest of it to push a dolly. And some of those rose bushes were quite heavy, but I did it all. And that was the day I did 8,000 steps, by the way. Method in my madness. And then I hope that you've all got a to-do list somewhere, a bucket list, if you like, a to-do list somewhere of things you want to learn how to do. It's like I've got this, I keep adding to mine because each time I do something, I go, okay, I've learned how to do that. And I'm constantly learning, as you know, I'm constantly experimenting. So this week, for the first time in my life, I made my own butter. And I know you probably want to know, how does it taste? It tastes like cream. Because that's what it is, right? That's what it tastes like. It tastes like cream. And I have wanted to be able to do that all my life. And I was going to do a demonstration of it tonight in my broadcast when I realized I've used up my cream for the week. So I will do it next week. For those of you who might want to know how to do it, I did it with my food processor. Okay. Doesn't it look gorgeous? And again, what a nice present to give to somebody, right? I'm always looking for little things to give to people when I go visit them, but who doesn't want some fresh butter? And I don't think I will buy butter again because when I looked at the cost of the cream, it is half the price, I think, of making it yourself. So it was so easy to do. I was quite shocked, quite shocked. But like everything else, yeah, Jodi's saying homemade bread and butter, absolutely heavenly. Hang on. Do I have? No. I've eaten it, but I think you all know that I actually make my own pita bread every day. And so now, should I eat butter? No, of course not. But now, will I eat some butter? You bet. Because there's no way I am going to waste that. It doesn't taste like store-bought butter at all. How many of you grew up on a farm and had made your own, butter from milk? And by the way, in case you're wondering, if I can find it. This is the buttermilk that came when the two separated, because butter really is the fat in milk. And I kept the buttermilk, and that will be my smoothie for today. Right? I'll add fruits to this, and that will be my smoothie this afternoon. But what I did find out. Oh, Jody's saying so healthy. Why is freshly made butter more healthy than bought butter? Is it? I mean, question one is it more healthy? But question two, why? Jody probably knows that. I can tell you that it was very healthy for me to do it because I had such excitement. I really did. I had such excitement doing it. When it actually, first of all, it turned into cream, and I'm going, that's a good start. And then it turns from cream into like yucky looking cream, grainy looking cream. And you're going, I think I messed it up now. And then, it was so funny because then I just kept playing with it. And then suddenly it became butter. And it was just like, oh, I wish you'd been here because I really would have hugged you if you'd been here. I was so excited. And then I remembered to wash it. Did you know you have to wash butter? I didn't know that until I read all, I was looking at a video about it and, to wash it. And so I did. And it was wonderful. Okay, Jody's saying that the buttermilk specifically is healthy. But homemade butter, you can control the quality of the quality of the ingredients and the salt content. Yes, I thought about whether I wanted to put salt in or not. Did you know that part of the reason to put the salt in is to release the water, the buttermilk? Did you know that? I didn't know that. There is a reason, technical reason for having salt in butter. But I didn't use very much. I can't remember what it told me to use, but I used about a quarter of what they told me. All right, listen to this. Thanks, Jody. Jody's saying healthy bacteria, lactic acid are both in buttermilk. They help with digestion and improve our metabolism. Yeah, Kimmy, I want to talk to you about that. Very interesting. Because they do say, hang on, let me get a jar here. They do say one of the ways you can make butter. Hi, Andrea. Good to see you. Is that, you can just literally shake cream into butter. But what I found is once it gets to whipping cream, how do you shake it? Because it's solid once it's whipping cream. And I always got stuck at that stage because I didn't know, do you add water to it and keep doing it? Or what do you do? Do you know what I mean? Because once it gets to thick whipping cream, it stays solid. I don't understand how you keep shaking it because I tried that and it didn't work for me. So I'd like some help. Yeah, but even if you roll it, it's not moving because it's solid. Interesting that you roll it. So I would need maybe do it more in a jar like that. All right, well, we'll do some experiments with it next week. And then maybe you can all think about that. Those of you who've done it by shaking it in a bottle. But I don't understand, because once it gets to whipping cream, it doesn't move in the jar anymore. So I'm trying to work out, do you put something in the jar to agitate it or what? Does anybody understand what I'm getting at? Well, I'll demonstrate it next week so we can see. But I'm certain somebody's got the answer, and I haven't. Story of my life. But the good news is I made the most delicious. I can now make my own bread and butter. So exciting. Okay, hang on a second. Let me just get this going here. All right, I didn't get it where it went to liquid, Kimmy. That's what I'm saying, is that I shook it enough so it became thick like cream, but it never went to the next stage because it wasn't moving inside the jar. Does anybody understand what I'm trying to say? Then maybe they can say it in a way that makes more sense. Jody normally understands what I'm trying to say. Anyway, so I'll talk about it a bit more tonight probably, because I want to just show you what fun that was. Yeah, Jody understands what I mean, right? So Jody, there's got to be something that you do to keep that stuff. I'm thinking you need something inside there. You know, if you had a marble in there, maybe it would do it, right? All right, and Kimmy's saying she never used processed milk. I got it fresh from the cow. Well, I did it with cream, because I reckon that's already halfway there. Yeah, thanks, Jody. We've got a week to find out, right? So maybe the fact that I started with cream, maybe that makes a difference. Not with milk. I started with cream. Ah, so maybe I just need to add some more milk to it. Look at me. I'm still shaking it. We'll find out. We'll find out. That's for sure. And that's, again, is an experiment. For those of you who, I know Jody's always interested in the potato experiment. Do you want to see it, Jody? It's a bit scary. Let me go get it. It is now this high. And what we said was, hang on, that's got too much behind it for you to see it. That it normally takes 4 months. Normally takes 4 months for potatoes to develop. So what I said was I would start opening up the bottom one in April. But now here's the thing. I need some help, people. I didn't think this through, did I? How am I going to get the bottom one off to see if we got any potatoes? First of all, I'm going to get it outside, because I want to get it outside so that it gets flowers. Kimmy, I totally understand that. And I did that, when I did it with the food processor. What I'm saying is, when I did it in a jar, there wasn't any liquid, because it was already cream, and it just turned into whipping cream and didn't do it. However, doing it with the food processor, it did break it up eventually. Yeah, that's exactly it. Thanks, Jody. Anyway, so anybody got any ideas? Because I suddenly realized if I cut through there, how do I? And that's what my feeling is I just need to cut through the bottom one, that one, cut that one off. But but when I then take the tar and put it down, it's all going to fall out. I didn't think through this very well. But the main thing is it possible to grow a potato? Yeah. Yeah, Jeannie, quite something. And I could probably continue. You see, that's what I'm thinking is I'm going to fill, at the moment, the top one here is empty. But I'm going to continue to fill it with earth and then keep adding to it. No, it didn't turn into curds, Kimmy, that's the point. All right, it just went to whipping cream, and then it didn't move in the jar anymore. So I guess I could have taken it out and manually churned it, or churned it inside with a spatula or something. Might have worked at that point. Anyway, but what I'll do is I'll do it in a food processor, because that's pretty interesting to watch. Or even in a magic bullet. I think I could do it in a magic bullet now that I know how to do it. That would be fun too, right? Really cute. All right, so anybody got any ideas? Or do I turn it on its side maybe each time? I really don't know. But I'm going to get my friend to help me take that outside safely. And I'm going to put it at the back of the house where if I make a big mess when I take it apart at the end of the month, it's not going to matter. But can you grow a potato plant that high inside during the winter? Yes. Look at that. It is boob height already. And we started it December, right? January, February, March. All right, look at this. This was January, February, March, and this is already April because it's time for me to put another one on it. I think that's pretty amazing. All right. And I will continue the experiment, you know that, but I'm not going to touch it. And my neighbor said, don't touch it until it flowers. So, but I do need to take it outside now. Seriously, it's too tall to stay in the house. It looks ridiculous, but it doesn't mean I'm going to leave it alone. It's going out near the compost so that I can enjoy it. Yeah, Jody, I always like to show you the tower because I know it does make you smile. And it's like, how many of you going, why bother? But you see, the reason I bother is how many potatoes do you eat in your house on a weekly basis or a monthly basis? I probably eat 2 potatoes in a month. And because I've got the air fryer, I have half a potato and cut it into fries. That's my treat once a week. I have half a potato cut into fries. So, 2 potatoes last me a month. Quite simple. So I'm working out that, at the moment I'm buying 2 potatoes, but I probably can get new potatoes out of this all the time. And then if I can, literally have it outside all summer, I'll have it in the shade, but outside in the summer, then, I can, work out what I'm going to do for the fall. Probably start a new one, right? But this should last me, let's think about that. That could be May, June, July, August, September. It could last me a whole season. Well, what I will do, Jody, because I know you love the experiment, is every week I will take pictures. And let you know how it's going. But, do you understand my concern is how do I get that bottom one off without destroying everything else? I think I'm going to have to put it on its side. And then very carefully put the bottom the plastic thing at the bottom, just slide that on and then take it back up again. So it's an ongoing experiment. So I hope you have had a fun April Fool's Day so far. I certainly I certainly have had an interesting day. When I woke up to the fact that my brother had changed the date sheet again. Well, actually, I didn't wake up to that. I did that last night before I went to bed. But it was just like, really? Yeah, what I want you to think about, though, and that is why I wanted to talk about April Fool's Day. Do we all agree that there are 2 sides to people being funny? And it's funny for the comedian. It's not always funny for the person who's the brunt of the joke. And, I do want to say that if you are in the public eye, then part of the job is to have people tell the most horrible stories and jokes about you. Right? That's part of the, unfortunately, part of the game. And if you think about it, if we got rid of every joke that was over the line, we probably wouldn't have Saturday Night Live or any of those sort of satire programs left in our lives. So think about that and understand it's about where do we find midpoint. Do I think it was perfectly okay for Will Smith to say, stop insulting my sick wife? Yes. Had he said that, there would be no discussion, I don't think, from the Academy. If he had just stayed seated and said, Chris, stop attacking my sick wife. I love her. I don't think that would have been a problem. All right? And I think the apology would have come from Chris Rock when he realized that she was sick. So do we all agree that violence is not the answer, even though we grew up with it? And I have to remind people of that. We grew up with violence. We grew up with, what do you do with a bully? You attack them. If you remember, I had a situation with a bully here and I chose not to attack them. And people called me all sorts of names, including a wuss, because I didn't attack the bully. But what I said was, I choose not to. That does not make me weak. That makes me emotionally intelligent. I do not intend to fight back. That is a sick puppy, and I just don't want to be part of it. So, you look at it and go, we all get judged and we all have people make jokes at our expense. And I wouldn't, I've been in the limelight. I have had people tell the most horrific stories about me that were totally untrue. And I want to tell you, it's horrible. It hurts horribly. And that's why I don't miss being in the limelight anymore. That's why I'm quite happy doing Dear Mama Sal and, trying to help a little group of people in our own way. And I thank you for being here and for holding my hand through, this pandemic. I cannot imagine what I would have done without you, quite honestly. All right, so Jody is saying several sources now report that Chris Rock had no idea about Jada's condition. So, you look at it and go, I am certain Chris Rock would be very apologetic back to Will privately. And probably, I hope that he apologized to Jada personally. I would like to believe that. And I would like to say that I'm not a big fan of Chris Rock, ever. But I also was impressed with how he handled it in a very professional way. And, I look at it and go, I have been triggered in my life and I have fought back. I'm not proud of it, but I understand that it happens. And so all of you, I look at it and go, see both sides if you possibly can. Be aware that it is possible to be triggered to a degree that pushes you over the limit. In that 1 minute, Will Smith destroyed people's perception of him. And the question is that the real Will Smith, or is the one that we've seen all these years of his incredible acting and everything else, and all the interviews we've seen him do? Which is the real Will Smith, do you think? Or is it possible that both are? And is that not true of all of us? That we are really nice people until somebody presses the wrong button. And then there's a side of us that comes out that we are not proud of 24 hours later, or even 24 seconds later. And if that is true of you, please take a moment and have some compassion for Will Smith. Do I think he should be severely punished from the Academy, by the Academy? Yes, absolutely. And I believe that the fact he went on and partied at the gold party afterwards was just, he was in survival mode at that point. Do any of you know what that feels like? In other words, he had to go there to save face and to share his story in some way. Do I think he probably got blind drunk just to stop the feelings? Probably. But I understood it. I understood that he didn't run away. I understood that when they tried to remove him, he didn't want to run away from that situation. He wanted to stay there and be seen to stay there. And then there are some that said he should never have got the Academy Award. Why? The Academy Award was voted on before that incident happened. And you cannot take it away from him, or you can, I guess. It's their choice. But I don't believe it should be taken away. He won that fair and square from the Academy, and therefore he has every right to have it. But it will always be the Oscars of the Will Smith slap. The same as, what was that Oscar? I can't remember what year it was, but how many of you remember Jack Palance doing push-ups during the Oscars? That, I cannot tell you who won. Yes, interesting, Jeannie. I felt the same way. That the awarding of the best film of the year by Lady Gaga and Liza Minnelli. How many of you cried? I cried watching that. Apparently, I'm still touched by it. I didn't realize Liza Minnelli was that frail now, although it makes sense. And I thought it was absolutely incredible pairing. And the way that Liza looked at Lady Gaga and said, what am I meant to do now? All right, you could tell she was out of her depth a little bit now. And I thought Lady Gaga, just awesome. What she did was awesome. So good on them. All right, so emotional moment for me, apparently. Thank you. Jack Palance did those push-ups in 1991 at the age of 73. Yeah, so, it's like Oscars have these moments that we remember them for. And I'm certain that Will Smith does not want that legacy, but he's got it whether he wanted it or not. So everybody, a very happy Saturday afternoon to you, wherever you are, or Saturday evening, or later. For Andrea sitting in Berlin, and what do you know? You must be 10 o'clock now. This is DearMamaSal saying, we'll see you tonight, where we'll do some cooking up in the kitchen. And thank you, Jody, for all your help. And thank you as well to Jeannie for playing moderator until Jody was able to come in. I really appreciate that as well. Have a wonderful afternoon, everybody. This is DearMamaSal saying bye-bye for now.